Welcome to Ellis B. Feaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
The Rock and Roll Radio Reunion on 101 WCBS-FM on the Dan Ingram Show.
Yeah, remember Circle? That was number 3 back in June 10th of 1966. Before that, Groovy Kind of Love, which was number 4, the Mind Benders. Remember they had a record called The Game of Love, as I recall. It was something like Chestmate or something. It had another title, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It was that's grand. Thank you. He kind of mumbles that at the end there. I'm not too proud of Baltimore. I think Baltimore's a great place. I got to say hello to a guy by the name of Charles Ballestall, I think his name is. Now, I know people like this kind of radio. I love it myself. I'll have it on all day and all night, and I'll be back and forth with guys and things like that. But this guy is listening off a telephone. Someone put a phone to a receiver, and he is paying the long-distance telephone charges to listen to this station all day long. I got to tell you, boy, is he going to have one hell of a phone bill. Someone called in and said, what is the word for the day? The word for the day is synergistic, and it refers to Jimmy Swaggart.
101 WCBS-FM, where the action is.
The Bad Boys of Rock and Roll at 18 minutes before 2 o'clock at CBS-FM 101.1. They're going to paint it black, baby. Yeah, that's good. That's the Rolling Stones and Paint It Black, which their follow-up to I never could say that, and I'm not going to now. It was a number 2 song back in 1966 on June 10th. Oh, yes, CBS-FM Sports. The Yankees host the Red Sox, game time 4 p.m., but don't watch the show. Stay tuned here. The Mets are in Pittsburgh, game time 7 p.m. It's going to be a lousy game, so don't watch them either. It's a 1:45, and we are now up to the numero uno song from June 10th, 1966, and you would think it would be rock and roll, wouldn't you? It wasn't. It was Doobie Doobie Doo. Doobie Doobie Bleeping Doo. Right. The story of 2 lice in a suit of armor. Strangers in the night.
Strangers in the night.
I got the whole darn song.
Doobie doobie doo. Doobie da 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 da.
Stay this weekend where the memories are. The Rock Reunion, CBS-FM.
As we stroll along together.
Oh, in love. A horny seamstress, no doubt. Something like that. I don't know. We got here's a question that's a kind of sad question from Franklin. Looks like Franklin, New Jersey. It says, Dear Dan, whatever happened to Bob Lewis and to Lonnie Starr? Well, they both passed away. Lonnie, several years ago. Bob, just maybe about a year or so ago. Bob was a victim of that plague. But anyway, Gus Ingram called to say hello. I don't think he's any relation, but hello, Gus, and I'm glad you're listening. Dan Cassini said I am the best DJ ever. Well, I don't think so. I happen to think, you know who my favorite DJ was? Aside from Ron Lundy, who I think is an incredible talented guy, and Mr. Brown here, the tall blonde guy. But happened to be Jazzbo, Al Collins. He was my hero. He was the guy I listened to early, and I guess he's still around somewhere. Joanne, in 75, Dan, on the radio, helped her through an emotional period with a friend. And that's good. I'll tell you that this is going to be the last chapter in my book, but I must tell you that the last day I was on the air on ABC, I got a letter, neatly typed, and it said a lot of nice things. And in the middle paragraph, I tend to get choked up when I remember this. It said, long before there was such a term as a battered child, I was one. And one day, I was standing on the edge of the Brooklyn Bridge with my only possession, my transistor radio. You made me laugh, and I didn't jump. Maybe that's what made it all worthwhile. People, I fly them a lot. Americans' summer super savers start as low as $138 to $358 round trip from New York. Fares are non-refundable and other significant restrictions apply. Well, of course. So call your travel agent or call American Airlines. Call them direct. They're nice people. I like their plane.
Gift certificates not usable for cellular calls. 1-year contract required. Other restrictions and conditions may apply.
I know a lady has a lot of cellular stuff, but that's another story. It's 5 minutes before 2 o'clock on WCBS-FM, CBS-FM 101, and I must say something, especially to the guy who's listening over the telephone in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. If you're on the beach, roll your bod. Roll your bod. Thank you.
The Rock Reunion, CBS-FM.
Here's a record I don't think I ever heard it before. I never heard that record before in my life, and must to avoid it because it sounds like some kind of growth, doesn't it? Like dew.
Dan, don't say that with Joe McCoy in here because he'll say you and me were on hiatus when these were hit.
Oh, okay. I remember Hiatus, a wonderful guy, a little strange, off the wall and that sort of stuff. Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell. I love this record from back in '67. This is Your Precious Love, baby. Her name is Maureen Donnelly. She is my precious love. Mr. Gaye, Ms. Terrell, if you will.
Every day. Oh, Mon Steaks.
Kelly?
Yeah?
I got to tell you something that's happened in radio and during my career. I happen to be a vice president of the Screen Actors Guild, a national vice president, and I'm on the board of directors, and I'm on the board of directors of AFTRA, and I happen to be a member of the Women's Voiceover Committee. And the nicest thing that I think has happened in radio is it's become much less sexist. It's nice to hear female voices on radio.
Well, I think so, too.
I had a hunch you would.
More music with Dan Ingram on this Radio Greats weekend coming up. But first, today the American Cancer Society's Burn Buster Index is 31 minutes, which is the average time to sunburn. Remember, the higher the SPF factor in your suntan lotion, the more protection you'll get from the sun. CBS-FM with you in mind. Weekend 101 weather. It looks pretty good. Sunny and breezy today. The high near 80. Partly cloudy tonight, near 60 in the city, 50s in the suburbs. Tomorrow, sunny and windy, near 80. Right now, 79 degrees in New York. I'm Kelly Tyler, CBS-FM.
Remember your favorite DJ,
Dan Ingram.
on 101 CBS-FM.
Is she really going out with him? Well, there she is. Let's ask her. Betty, is that Jimmy's ring you're wearing? Mm-hmm. Gee, it must be great riding with him.
Oh, rev up that song. Go, Daddy. Burn rubber. Do all that stuff. They called up and told me that Jazzmo is working on WNEW AM on weekends. Well, I work for them, too. I do their promos one day a week. I go in, and it's a good station, too. But right now, you're listening to the Radio Greats Weekend and Jack Specter on CBS-FM 101.1. Jack's going to be here at 3 o'clock. As a matter of fact, he's sitting right here in the studio.
It's Jack Specter and the Radio Greats.
Is that the way it works?
I insist on top billing.
And the other Radio Greats. Let's put it that way. Also with me in the studio is the great love of my life, Maureen Donnelly, who happens to be president of the Screen Actors Guild here in New York. And we were talking just a minute ago with Kelly about the fact that there are more women now in broadcasting, and I happen to be one man who is a member of the Women's Voiceover Committee. Tell me what they did and what they proved.
Well, it was always assumed that men were more persuasive than women in selling products.
Men were the voice of authority.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, 99% of commercials were done by men.
And then someone found out that no one had ever done a study, and the Women's Voiceover Committee decided to commission one for the Screen Actors Guild, and it was determined that men and women are equally persuasive.
So now there are more women making perhaps some more of their fair share of work. To me, that's unionism at its best.
And it has a long way to go.
Yes, it sure does.
Dan Ingram.
which is what they call a drape in a saloon. They use it. Never mind. If you want to call us and get through, the number is 1-800-367-1101. That's 1-800-367. It's toll free from the tri-state area. 1-800-367-1101. You are listening to the Rock and Roll Radio Greats Weekend on CBS-FM 101.1.
Serafina at the Court Theater on Broadway. Call Telecharge.
One summer day, Mrs.
Mom. No, wait a minute. That's upside down. Wow. That's it. Oh, my God. Okay. Scott says he's been listening in Belleville since he was in his 10s. Robert loves it. Well, we all do. I remember when I found out that women love it, too. It changed my life. Joan doesn't want it to end. I'm sorry, but, the older you get, you may get better, but sometimes... Stephen is a radio junkie. He says it's a radio junkie's dream. Charles has been listening forever. Mike says great memories. And let's see here. What else we got? We got 10,000 things. Jay Hamilton says hello. Kathy Graham says, Dan, in 69, her mom took her away on vacation to Maine. She didn't know what kind of radio they would have there, so she taped all of my shows and took them with her. She still has all the openings and closings. Please erase those tapes, please.
The Radio Greats, all weekend long on 101 CBS-FM.
I love this record. Mr. Chuck Berry. Gonna do that chicken walk across the stage. So dirty. I love it. This is Johnny Be Good, taking you back to 1958 on CBS-FM.
Deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the woods among the evergreens, Johnny Be Good.
Hey, that's good. That's when records ended. You remember that? I have this terrible feeling something is coming over me. I hear an echo. Guys, I speak your tongue.
You're the only one who understands me.
Of course I understand you. I have a bad hernia. That's where it comes from. I mean,
that's where you got it from.
Yeah,
trying to imitate me.
The day my trust broke, I started to talk like you.
Anyone throw any jockey shorts at you?
Any what? I can hardly understand what you're saying, Bruce. It sounds like you're really talking to us from Kansas. Where are you?
Bad connection.
Bad connection? I remember him. He was one of our engineers.
What state is that in?
What state is that? Jake is sitting here. He's kibitzing. And would you like to say hello to Bruce Morrow? I know.
Hello, cousin Bruce. Yeah, I can almost do it. It's almost, not quite.
I know this is one of the big thrills of your life.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, cousin.
Hello?
Hello?
We got a bad connection.
We got a bad connection?
I heard that about you.
I'm in Kansas listening to you on a telephone. I had an appearance this morning.
Yeah.
All right, in this cornfield. And I'm going to get back in time for 8 o'clock, but I just want to tell you it sounds terrific.
Oh, well, good. Your standards are very low. I've always known that. You're easily pleased.
No, not with you. Glad to have you on that station.
Okay, we'll be talking to you tonight. Rick said he might drive by and see you, too.
Yes, he called, too. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Okay, talk to you soon. Take care, buddy. Harry used to say that was Diane Navy Blue. I think he drove Jake crazy.
Harry Harrison. We threatened to kill him if he said it again.
All the time. Oh, someone called up and said, "How's the traffic?" Traffic is great. It's moving nowhere, especially on Drumgold Boulevard, which is what we also used to tell you about that. And I used to ask the question. I asked it several times. I said, "What is Lot's wife's name in the Bible?" She doesn't have a name. And people would say, "Oh, she's Mrs. Lot." I said, No, she just never had a name, and that's the truth. Now then, the other thing that I wanted to say was about the night of the blackout when I was on the air. It was 5:27 p.m., and the records, because they're all in cartridges like everything is now in radio, and they work on machines that are keyed to 60-cycle current. The current was slowing down, so the records were slowing down, and everything was running like this. And then we're off the air. And I went out to the transmitter, and it was a zoo on the streets because there were no traffic lights, and if people are standing around, and it was black as pitch. It was 5:29, I think, by the time I got in the elevator, which didn't work, and I had to go, 8 flights down. Got into a car, went to the transmitter, was on the air till 4 o'clock in the morning because they had power in Lodi, New Jersey for some reason. It was the only place in the East Coast that had power. And we were on the air, and I mean, it wasn't auxiliary backup or anything. It wasn't like a generator. And we were on the air all night long. There's nothing funny about that, but someone called up and said, "Please talk about the blackout." So all I know is that 9 months later, there was a precipitous rise in the birth rate, which that's the truth.
Hello, Dan. This is John Maher.
Hello, John.
Hey, what a pleasure to say hello to a former colleague.
Yay.
Despite your frequent comments about our old newsroom and perhaps an attempt to break me up, and the jokes about the occasional bad sartorial choices of an early morning newsman who had to dress in the dark. Dan, it was all in fun, and it's really wonderful to hear this reunion. Good luck to you.
Thank you, John. I never really liked you.
Okay, Mr. Farkas, say aw.